Hello sports fans, Anthony with BBSN, and just a couple of quick updates. First of all, holidays have been a little busy thus far. We've had the guests pretty much for the last 2 weeks straight, including one of my sons who was in town on leave from the Navy. So been a little busy there, but I have been working on Glory Days boxing. So first of all, an update on that game. Pretty close to getting all the initial 200 fighters rated and done. The only snag right now, and not really a snag, but a piece of the process I'm not too happy with, the estimates I've gotten back from printers thus far for printing the individual and cutting the individual boxer cards really haven't been at the price point I want. And I've limited my search to pretty much the local area that I'm at in Phoenix, which is on the west side. So I am going to expand and check some printers out that are more centrally located in downtown Phoenix. Some bigger commercial printers there where I might get a better deal. Because if I don't get, I really, from the estimates I've gotten, I need to knock about at least $10 to $15 off the printing and cutting estimate to make the game at a price point I want for consumers. And obviously, you know, if those of us that do these games, we don't get rich doing them. I've talked to 2 or 3 people that produce board games, and for all of us, it's really a labor of love and cover our costs and maybe make a couple of bucks here and there. But yeah, with what I have now, I would actually be losing money if I released it at the cost I want to. So, of course, the other option, which is looking likely, at least for initial release, would be just to release the game parts, manual, and game boards, and boxer cards via PDF, which would allow a much more reasonable price point that the user could then print out and cut themselves for a lot cheaper than I could get it done professionally, at least at this point. Again, I'm going to check out a couple more places next week. And I think I can find better deals than I've gotten this far, and hoping I can. But that's where we stand. Nothing that really has delayed the game much. And again, it's on course to be released early next year. Just really more or less of, I guess, Henderson at this point in terms of where I wanted to be in the process. So that aside, the baseball game, and I'm going to do, we're going to look at that in a couple of minutes. I've done a couple of videos on Glory Days Baseball, which again is far off in the future after the 2019 baseball season. But I finally reached a final production prototype. The 2 videos I've done previously have been versions 2 and 3 prototypes of the cards and the game. The last prototype with the contact factor that you can see on this channel, it's titled The Anatomy of a Board Game, and I also do the 1978 Yankees-Red Sox one-game playoff utilizing the game. I like where that was heading. I made some refinements to the card layout and actually done some work to get more of the results on the card. And that's one thing I really strive to do when making a game or creating a game, is to get most of the action to take place on the cards, so you don't have to go to charts continuously. So I've added more to the cards for the baseball game, and really excited to show that, which we'll look at again in a minute. And then I'm going to replay the 1978 World Series between the Yankees and Dodgers, and again, this will be the final production prototype for Glory Days Baseball. So all the mechanics are done, all the charts are done. I'm really happy with where I'm at with the card design and the way the game mechanics are. So now it's just a matter of rating teams, as many teams and as many seasons as I can over the next 9 to 10 months. And then, of course, for release, we want to rate the 2019 season as well. And the number of players that are used in baseball now with the openers, and the number of players that are off and on major league rosters, that process in itself, rating the 2019 season, will probably, I would imagine, take 7 to 8 weeks after the season is completed. Because at this point, as much as I would love to have that process automated, I'm basically doing each player manually. I do have rating calculators and spreadsheets and whatnot, but I have to input the card data manually because I don't have, haven't come up with a way to populate it yet or automate that process and maintain the accuracy and ranges that I want on the cards. So that said, let's take a quick look at the final prototype of Glory Days Baseball, and then we'll be back later to do a video of Game 1 of the 1978 World Series, Yankees and Dodgers. Okay, so here we are with the version 3 prototype of the Glory Days Baseball player card, and the final basically beta prototype, I guess you could say. And you can see the changes. This is a pitcher's card, Catfish Hunter and Frank Tanana. Some things you'll notice right away, or the main thing you'll notice right away, is all of the players' ratings are now on the left side of the card, and the players' results are on the right side of the card. I like this better. It, to me, is much cleaner, flows much better. I like the look, the appearance of the new cards better, where all the data that you need, obviously name, team, record, the modifiers for contact and walks and strikeouts, then all the players' ratings, defense, and then their left and right adjustments to deep balls. And then here, all of the results. And another thing that I changed is the last prototype, I used a 10 to 69 number format. I am back to the 0 to 99 number format. Gives a bigger variety of results, gives at least an opportunity for some, like a home run hitter that doesn't hit very many home runs, to still get at least a single power number on the card, and really just, I think, is more conducive to a more accurate experience simulation. By going to this method, some changes to the cards. Obviously, the ranges and modifiers for walks and strikeouts on the pitcher are a lot wider than they used to be. But overall, the flow is really nice. And the other big change, and I'll bring out a batter's card to show you an example of that. So here's Jim Rice from the 78 Sox and Gorman Thomas from the 78 Brewers. Now what you'll notice, and this is where we get more of the results on the batter's card, or on the player's card itself. Previously, I had hit locations listed here in the results, single to left, ground ball to short, etc., etc. And what you then had to do was check a resolution chart, and I'll just use an example, a ground ball to shortstop. If there was a runner on first, you referenced a 1-die-20 roll on a separate chart to see if it was a double play, fielder's choice, or batter out, runner advances. Taken that away and have gone to a result-driven format on the player's card now. So here, you won't see a single to center field, ground ball to second, etc. You'll see a ground ball +1, which means batter out, runner advances, ground out, fielder's choice, ground out, double play, pop out, fly out, and then double. Runner advances 2 bases, runner advances 3. Same thing with single runner advances 1, single coach's choice to try and have the runner advance extra base using the player's run rating and the outfielder's arm if applicable. And then a single runner automatically advances 2 bases. So that's kind of been the format. Same with flyouts, where it's no advancement, coach's choice advance, runner on third scores either hold or all runners advance, etc. So that piece now allows you to get the result instantly from the card, and then you utilize the 1D20 to check on the batter's card to see where the ball went. And if this was a ground ball, 15 would be a ground ball to second base, fly ball would be a fly ball or hit to center field. So I like that. I think that gives a one, it speeds the game up a little bit, and also allows me to rate batters in 3 different categories, whether they're a pull hitter like Gorman Thomas is, or a normal hitter, or a spray hitter. And I'll just use a result, or I'm sorry, an example of a hitter that would be a spray hitter. Now, this is Davy Jones from 1911 Detroit Tigers, which is one of the initial seasons I'll be doing. And again, right and left-handed batter, so they're different. But you can see Gorman Thomas, a pull hitter. He has a lot of his results on grounders going to third and short. Conversely, for Davy Jones, who's a spray hitter, not as many results going to first and second, and more results going to his opposite side, which third base for a left-handed hitter versus first base for a pull hitter. So that, I think, just adds a little bit more flavor to the game. And the other cool thing about that is, on hits, you really don't need to check location. If it's a single +1, you know that the runners are going to advance one base. If it's +2, they'll advance 2, etc. So you don't even really need to reference the 1D20 if you don't want to, unless you want to for flavor, or if you score where hits go, then you can. Otherwise, it's a quick resolution on to the next batter. And same thing, even with ground balls. And I know some people I've seen play where they just record ground out, fly out, etc., not F7 or G6. So if you don't want to score the specific or track the specific putouts, you can just go off this and not worry about the location. I like to know the location of outs, obviously, when I play games, so it's something I'll use. But it gives a player some options. And again, you can resolve everything right here off the cards. The only thing now that you'll have to go to charts for are rare plays, events, and defensive checks. I still do have a chart that has a description of resolution. This was a previous chart, and on the previous chart there was a column here with the 1D20 roll that would say double play, fielder's choice, etc. That's gone, but this just allows you, if there's a question, say that you have runners on first and third, and you get a result, ground out, fielder's choice, and you just want to confirm. It will tell you fielder's choice, out at second, batter safe, runner advances. And then also if the infield is infield in, batter out, runner on second advances, runner on third holds, etc. So that will give you a complete description. Most of baseball, especially if you play a lot of board games and obviously are familiar with how baseball games generally flow, you won't need to reference this chart much, but it's there if needed to resolve a play. And that goes the same for the hits as well as the outs. So that piece in itself will speed the game up quite a bit. And again, I like the flow. The flow here is faster than checking two different sides of a card. And the extra flavor with the location of the hits on the card as well. So let's actually go into the card real quick and get a breakdown of stuff. For those who maybe have not seen the other video, again, this will be the final prototype. This is how the cards will look, and this is the information you'll have. So the game itself is based on a contact principle where the batter must first make contact with a ball, and then you do the in-play result. So it's two rolls. The first roll, you would check the batter contact area, and that is his range of walks, strikeouts, hit by pitch. And also in this area, you will determine if the park will come into play on the final result, which we will ignore for now. So Gorman Thomas against Nolan Ryan. Normally, with an average right-handed pitcher, Gorman Thomas would draw a walk on a 0 to 9 roll and would strike out on a 30 to 48 roll and get hit on a roll of 60 on the initial roll. Nolan Ryan, he has obviously was very wild back then, and of course one of the most prolific strikeout pitchers, the most prolific strikeout pitcher in the history of the game. So he will modify all walk chances, and this is really an outlier, by 11. So he'll add 11 to this range, which makes this 0 to 20. And he'll add a whopping 19, which Gorman Thomas doesn't need because he fans enough on his own. So this becomes 30 to 67 now. So when rolling the cards with those modifications in place, you would roll and 40, and that would be within Gorman Thomas's strikeout range normally, so he'd strike out and the at-bat is resolved. Once you determine whether contact is made, if a walk or strikeout or hit by pitch does not occur, you then reference the 1D20, and that was a 20 on that last roll, and look at the batter's contact rating. So 1 to 10, you would go on his card, and again, this is unmodified. Nolan Ryan, because he is hard to hit, he has a higher whip, but he does not give up a lot of hits. Opponents have a low batting average against him. So he's a -4 to this contact rating. So Gorman Thomas would become a 1 to 6 when batting against Nolan Ryan. So 1 to 6, you would then roll again and check Gorman Thomas's card for the result. And 7 or more, you would check Nolan Ryan's card for the result. So let's play a couple of just quick at-bats using other rated players from 1978. All right, so this would be your standard game setup, and you would have away team's pitcher here. Home team's pitcher here, away team's batter here, however you like to set your cards up. And then on the other side would be the away team's pitcher and the home team's batter. And again, this is just how I set them up. So here you have the ballpark, and we just have Yankee Stadium here as a reference. And that will come into play again on a roll of 96 to 99. The other thing, each era is rated for defensive checks, and in the dead ball era there would be a higher range here, but in 1978 a roll of 90 to 95 on the initial roll means the next roll you would conduct a defensive check on the location the ball is hit. And again, 96 to 99, the park modifiers would apply. Otherwise, all the results would come off the pitcher or batter's card. So probably better than trying to explain it would just be to demo it real quick. So Robin Yount up facing Nolan Ryan. So the initial roll, you have a 72. Now Yount is against a right-hander, strikes out on a roll of 30 to 35. Add 19 to that, which is Ryan's K modifier, and this is extreme, but it's as high as it goes in the game, pretty much as high as it goes. So that would make his new strikeout roll 30 to 54. 72 is above that, so we know contact has been made. There are no other, again, 90s is where we look at defensive checks or park checks, so that's out of the question. This will go straight to either the pitcher or batter's card. So next on the initial roll, you check the resolution die, and that is a 2. Robin Yount against right-handers makes contact on a roll of 1 to 10 on the 1D20, -4 for Ryan's contact modifier, so he is also 1 to 6. 2 is within that range, so we can go to Robin Yount's card to get the final result. So a second roll, and 21 versus the right-hander, and that is going to be a single, and that would be a single coach's choice for runner on base to advance an extra base. No runners on base, so that does not come into play. 3, and you look at the outfield range here. All hits, you check the outfield chart. 3 would be left field, so that is a single to left, and Robin Yount is on. Now, the way these cards are weighted, this was the toughest part. I spent a lot of time going over different formulas and calculations. So if you get to roll on the batter's card, it is much more heavily weighted in terms of a favorable outcome. And obviously the pitcher's card is much more favorably rated in terms of a favorable outcome to the defense, meaning most of these will be outs. In fact, Ryan's card has 6, 8, and it's just against left-handed batters, 14, 15, 16. 16 and plus a hit by a pitch because he is a little bit higher than the average there. So 16 hit opportunities out of a total of 99 rolls, where Yount's card would, depending on his batting average with contact, which is what this is calculated off, then modified, could be as high as over 50 to 60% with the modifiers. So you can see over the course of a game and a season how this die is really crucial. And it's not a 50-50 system. It definitely relies on pitcher-hitter interaction and is definitely affected by how good the pitcher is at batting average against with contact and also even with allowing contact. So that would be Robin Yount's at bat. And we'll bring up Stormin Gorman Thomas now. Runner on first, nobody out. So roll off Orion's card and 88. So even with the robust modifier to Thomas's already high strikeout rating, that's still going to be contact made. 19, that's going to be on Ryan's card. So you would then roll the dice a second time, and 34 versus a right-handed batter. That's going to be a ground out to into double play. And that's the result. You then check the 10, and against on Gorman Thomas's card, that is to shortstop on a ground ball. So that is a G6, a 6-4-3 double play, and Yount is erased and 2 down. That's basically, in a nutshell right there, how the at-bats work. And we'll bring in a different pitcher. Ryan's running mate from 1978 on the Angels, faultless Frank Tanana. And he is a southpaw, so we'll just replay those two at-bats again. So a 23 on the initial roll, and Tanana, his modifiers against a right-handed batter, he's still good at striking out lefties, plus 10. Tanana was a very good control pitcher, much better, of course, than Ryan, as is most everyone. So he has a -1 to the walk range and a +3 to the strikeout range for a right-handed batter. 23 is comfortably above Yount's walk range. He actually did not walk much in 1978, so that's going to be contact. And 1, Tanana's adjustment versus right-handers is actually better than it is versus lefties, but it's -2. So that would make Yount's rating 1 to 8 versus a left-handed pitcher. So there's going to be contact made. And 1, of course, will be on Yount's card. So we then roll again, looking at Yount's card, 75. And 75, and that is going to be a fly ball runner advance on coach's choice. And 15 would be to center field. So that's an F8 for Yount. You still will get out. It's not obviously an automatic hit or an automatic out on the pitcher's card. Automatic hit on the batter. So 1 down. Gorman Thomas is up. Initial roll is a 79. That will be contact, and 4 is going to be on Thomas's card. He is actually 1 to 12 against southpaw, so he does really well with contact against lefties. So Thomas looking for a good result here, 36. And 36, that will be a single runner's advance 2. There are no runners on, so a single to left field. And again, 12. Thomas a pull hitter. So hits 1 to 13 goes to left, 14 to 19 go to center, and only 20 goes to right. So that's really it. Again, in a nutshell, it's that simple. So let's do some other scenarios. So on the initial roll, we roll a 98, which is in the park column of the batter, and that result is an 11. So 98, that means the contact result will be modified by the park rating, and we again have Yankee Stadium here just as a reference point. So 11 on the 1D20, Yount is 1 to 10 versus left-handers, and Tanana -2 versus right, so that makes his final range 1 to 8. 11 is going to be off Tanana's card. So we will then roll, get the result. 22 versus a right-hander, and that actually is going to be a single coach's choice for runners advancement, and there is no runners on. So a single, and we would then look at the 1D20, come over here and check Yankee Stadium under the single result. And you can see here, the ballpark adjustments come into play. The parks are rated for hits and outs and even foul territory in terms of affecting the outcome off the card. So 6, that is still going to be a single to left field, and if there were runners on, you would then use the coach's choice to determine if you wanted to try and advance an extra base. If Yount had rolled a 20, that would have turned into a ground out +1 to short. So that would have been Yount out at first, any runners on advance 1 base, 6-3 on the put out. So that's how that works. And it goes for every type of result. Ground outs, in this case, for Yankee Stadium, 1-20 will always be a ground out. There's no adjustment there. Flyouts, there are some adjustments. So a flyout would be as rolled, either F, fly out, no runners advance, F with the hashtag for coach's choice, F plus or F plus plus, whatever came off the hitter or pitcher's card. So the fly out would stand as rolled on a roll of 1-15, and that would be a fly out to right for a left-handed batter. No adjustments for doubles and triples, but if you rolled a 16-20, because we got that short porch in Yankee Stadium, that suddenly becomes a home run. So the park effect comes into play there and turns an out into a long ball. Against a right-handed batter, 1-19, the original result would apply. Yankee Stadium sees more triples than normal parks for right-handed batters, so a roll of 20 would be a triple to center, no home run effect. The pop-outs. Yankee Stadium, there's no adjustment. 1-20, the result would be the same, and I'm going to grab Dodger Stadium real quick. If parks have a smaller foul territory, or I guess more foul outs, or not as many foul outs occurred there. Here's Dodger Stadium. You see on the pop out, if it's a left-handed batter, 1-19, the result stands off the card, so F6, F5, whatever. If it's an F, or if you roll a 20, that ball goes into the stands and you replay the at-bat. So foul territory or the frequency of foul balls into the stands come into play there. And again, that piece isn't going to be a lot on a lot of parks, but it will come into play on some. Singles, you already saw the adjustments, both left and right-hander for Yankee Stadium. At 20 turns a single into a ground out +1. Doubles, no adjustment. Triples, no adjustment. And long balls, obviously left-hander, there's no adjustment because we actually add more home runs under flyouts. For right-handed batters, though, with that more expansive left field area, 1-16 on a deep shot is a home run. 17-20 is a long fly ball. And if less than 2 outs, all runners on base, runners on second and third, I should say, advance 1 base. So it becomes a sacrifice fly. So that's how park effect works. Defensive check. So again, 90-95 on that initial roll. And you're going to conduct a defensive check on the result. So 93. And the 1D22, in this case, again, Tanana against Yount, the contact result would go off of the Yount's card. So whatever the next result here is, you will also check for either a range play or an error. So the result is 10, and against the left-hander, that is a single. The 1D20 is a 9. And this all, obviously, when you see gameplay, will make a lot more sense. So here we have an outfield hit, and a 9 becomes a range check. So there is an opportunity for the outfielder to make a play on the ball or give up an extra base. So what you would do once you get this range check is you would go to where the ball was hit. And again, utilizing this chart here, 9 would be a hit to left field. So, and we'll just grab Jim Rice because he's handy. So Jim Rice, this is his old card, obviously, but he has a range rating of 5 in right field, or left field, sorry. So you'd simply roll a 1d20, or 1d10. And 5 or less, he succeeds on his range check. 7 or more, or 6 or more, he fails. He failed the range check. And here you see error, failed range check. I'll bring it up so you probably can't. I'll read it to you. So late start on a drive to the gap, all runners advance 1 extra base. So that just becomes an automatic 1 base advancement for all runners on. If he had succeeded on the range check on a hit, it would have been the normal result, runners advance 1 or 2 depending on hit type. So that's how range check works. If this initial 1d20 had been an error, and we'll just use a infield ground out. So say we have a roll of 13 to 14 and it's a ground ball to shortstop. You look at the shortstop's rating, and we'll just use Yount's since it's handy. So Yount's error rating is a 5. He's got a range of 8, so a roll of 0 to 8 is a successful range check, and a 5 for error, meaning a roll of 0 to 5 results in an error. So you would have either an error, failed range check here, or successful or no error. So again, rolling the 1d10, 0, Yount makes an error. Misplays ground ball, batter safe, runners advance 1. So that's how the defensive check works, and really it flows fairly easily in the game. You know, and again, it's something that doesn't come up a lot. It comes up, I mean, in testing, I've worked on the range on this card quite a bit. And 90 to 95, that's 6 out of 100 on that initial roll. It results in a fairly accurate number of error/range chances. You'll get anywhere from, I think I've always gotten at least a couple per game, and the most I've gotten in any single game was 7 in testing, and 3 of those were range, 4 were error chances. And of course, with a dead ball park, it would be a lot higher in terms of the range where you do a defensive check here. So that's just a brief overview. And again, when we play the Yankees-Dodgers series, you'll see that in action. The final thing that you would go to well, 2 things, obviously. You still go on bunts and squeeze plays and hit and run to the resolution chart. And nothing has changed from the last prototype there. And then the event chart, which is a 10, or 0, sorry, on either the batter or the pitcher's card. So once you roll an event, say we roll double zeros. So no matter what card you're on, that's going to be an event after you establish contact, and a roll of 10. So you would check the 1d20 against the event chart. 1 to 9 is a rare play where you then roll again and check this chart. 10 to 15, you would check for an injury to the batter, and 16 to 20 for an injury to the pitcher. So say this is a 4, nobody's on base, we're going to check for a rare play. So base is empty, 84 is the roll, and 84, center fielder drops ball, then throws wildly to second base, batter ends up on third. So that's basically a 2-base throwing error. So that's what will come into play with the rare plays. And then in terms of checking injury, each player is rated for injury. Yount's is a 3. So if that injury chance came up again, same as with a defensive check, you would just simply roll a 1d10. And if it was 3 or less, he would be hurt, which it is. If it was more than his injury rating, he would stay in the game and you would move on. And then if a player was injured, you then roll again to determine if it was just this game or multiple games, etc. And that is also affected by the injury rating itself. So that's really it. That captures all the mechanics of the game, and all of that is very similar to the last prototype, which we demonstrated. And again, that video is on this channel as well. And we also played the 78 Yankees Red Sox one-game playoff. So next up, we will do the 1978 World Series Dodgers and Yankees. So you'll get to see this prototype play out over the course of a 4 to 7 game series. And after that, unless there are any requests to play one-off games with this, which I can do, down the road we'll get back to the normal video content on the channel, and also my development focus will go back full-time to Glory Days Boxing to get that ready to go early next year. So that's it. Final prototype of Glory Days Baseball. Hope you've enjoyed it. If there are any questions, please feel free to let me know. But we'll be back in our next video. Like I said, will be the 1978 World Series. And just a couple more bonus things here. Got some players. Again, you saw Davy Jones. This is Ty Cobb from 1911. He was obscenely good that year. And we'll zoom in on his card. So you can see Ty Cobb in the dead ball era. This season he hit .419 with 8 home runs, 65 RBIs. And he was insane. 1 to 14 contact result rating versus righties, and 1 to 12 against lefties, which is exceptional for this time period. And you're going to get a hit probably 65% of the time, or 60% of the time that you get on his card. And of course, it's not going to be, even with that high range, dead ball pitchers reduce contact a lot more as well. And we'll bring out his 1911 nemesis from the Philadelphia Athletics, Eddie Plank, to show you. So Cobb is a left-handed hitter, and against left-handed pitchers, he's 1 to 12. Plank is phenomenal against left-handed batters. He is a -5 on the contact modifier. So that would reduce even a hitter as good as Cobb down to a 1 to 7. So you can see there, in this era, the advantage is still going to be to the pitcher. Obviously, Plank had a stellar season, 23-8 with a 2.10 ERA that year. But plays out the same way, obviously. Differences are the power numbers are not as good. You'll see more triples, of course, and more domination by the pitchers. One thing interesting with Plank, there wasn't a lot of strikeouts back then. Cobb was a good contact hitter. His base strikeout roll is only 30 to 32. Against most pitchers in that era, that wouldn't get changed more than maybe 1 or 2. So you would not be seeing a lot of strikeouts by Cobb. Plank was a very good strikeout pitcher for his time, especially against left-handers, where he added 11 to their strikeout range. So that would bump Cobb up to 30 to 43 on contact. So Cobb would struggle at times versus Eddie Plank, but when it did get on his card, obviously he would do quite well. And Davy Jones, that card I had out earlier, but same thing. Jones, not as impressive. He's only 1 to 10, which means when he's facing Plank, Plank again is hell against left-handed batters. He would only make contact on a 1 to 5 if he didn't walk or strike out. And Jones walked a little bit more than Cobb, and Plank adds 1 to left-handed batters, so that would be a 0 to 8. So that would come up a little bit more frequently, and he would struck out more than Cobb, so that would be a 30 to 46 versus Plank there. So that's really it, and just again showing some extra cards that won't be involved in the next replay we're going to do. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm actually really excited about this version. It's been a lot of trial and error. I've been working on this game for well over a year in addition to the boxing game. And that's just the resolution chart. And like I said, this is really the 4th iteration of this. It started out very similar to Glory Days Boxing, and I gravitated away from that because I wanted to get more batter-pitcher interaction. I've changed that formula with the interaction now once, and have finally reached on something that I am satisfied with, not only in terms of the interaction, the results and accuracy of the results, and also the presentation and flow of the game. So I'm really happy with where this game is at this point. And again, it's a long ways off. It'll be after the 2019 baseball season next winter. But it's ready to go, and really all that's left for me to do now is start rating teams and seasons. So you'll see how it plays off when we do the 78 World Series. But thanks for watching. Kind of a little bit long-winded with this video, but wanted to get all the news out there. So hope everyone is having a great day, and we will be back later to start the 1978 World Series. Until next time, keep rolling for the fences, and we'll see ya.